computer goes to sleep, we have to use password to...
You can change that.
Really? I like to know how to change it. Okay. We begin with 31. Ananda. The one who says feeling is not myself, but myself is not without feeling, without experience of feeling. I think we discussed that. We go to 33, 32. Ananda, when a bhikkhu does not consider feeling as self, and does not consider self as without experiencing of feeling, and does not consider myself feels, for myself is subject to feeling, then being without such consideration, he does not cling to anything in the world. So the clinging, upadana, grasping, notion arises from the feeling of self. I is the extremely powerful feeling. Behind that what we have is notion of self. My also is very strong feeling. Behind that is notion of I. Myself is a very strong feeling. Behind that is the notion of self. So, but these three are used: tanha, mana, ditthi. Tanha is craving, mana is conceit, ditthi means view, wrong views. For these three things, one would say, etam mama, eso hamasmi, eso me atta. This is mine. As soon as is something mine, tanha is there. Eso hamasmi, this I am, that is mana is there. Mana also arises from tanha, craving for oneself. Scent is mana, as I mentioned, is a measure. We measure with others because of our notion of self. I. Although it is dominating, more predominant factor there, mental state is conceit. But under conceit, underlying conceit also is self, notion of self. Then wrong view is definitely is self, existing permanently. So self manifests in three forms: as tanha, as craving, as self. So if a person, or here in the case Buddha said a bhikkhu, myself feels for myself is subject to feeling, then being without such considerations, he does not cling to anything in the world. So, clinging is due to craving. Craving arises from the notion of self, I, my property, my this. My arises, the notion of my arises from the notion of craving and notion of self. Not clinging, he is not agitated. Not being agitated, he personally attained Nibbana. He understands destroys its birth. The holy life has been lived. What had to be done has been done. There is no more to be, no more to this state of being. So, okay. Vedana chahiya also sabbena sabbam sabbata sabbam. Appreciation nirujjeyum. So it is. Yeah. Sabso vedanaya asati. Vedana nirodha. Apinuko tat aham ayam aham asmi. Ayam aham asmi. Ti siyati. Aham ayam asmi. No hetam bhante. Tasmati ananda etena petan nakkamiti na hevako me vedana attati nopi appati sangvedano me atta atta me vedanati vedana dhammo hi me attati samanupasati. Yatoko ananda bhikkhu neva vedanang attanang samanupasati nopi appati sangvedin anyam samanupasati nopi atta me vedanati samanupasati. Evane samanupanto nachakinchu loke upadhyati. Here loke, as I mentioned, is not clinging to anything. Anupadayana paritassati aparitassang pacchatanyeva parinibbayati. Here, in this life itself, he attained Nibbana. Parinibbayati meaning he attained, destroyed, attained Nibbana. Here attained Nibbana means destroying craving. Total destruction of craving in this very life is Nibbana. Tassayeva tannhaya asesa viraga nirodho jhago patnisago mutti analayo. The description of Nibbana. Tassayeva tannhaya in Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta and Maha Sutta and so on, Buddha said the very same craving, tassayeva tannhaya, asesa viraga nirodho jhago padinisago mutti analayo is Nibbana. Then is the description of Nibbana. So, pacchatanye parinibbayati, and then khinajati usitam brahmacharyam katam karaniyam naparang itthatayati pajanati evang vimutti citto ko ananda bhikkhu yo evang vadeya. Then this is also stock passage. Hoti tathagato parammarana. It is ditti tadakallam nahoti tathagato parammaranam. It is ditti tadakallam. Hoti ja nahoti tathagato parammaranat is ditti tadakallam. Neva hoti nahoti tathagato paramaranati. It is ditti tadakallam. Tankisa hetu. Yavata ananda adhivachanam. Yavata adhivachana pato. Yavata nirutti pata. Yavata nirutti pato. Nirutti pato. Yavata panyati pato. Yavata panya vachana. Yavata vattang yavata vattati. Tadabinya vimutto bhikkhu. Tadabinya vimuttang bhikkhu. Na jayati na passati. Itis ditthiti tadakallam. Okay, this is the very concluding passage of this statement. Very important passage. If anyone should say of bhikkhus whose mind has been thus liberated, that he holds the view that Tathagata exists after death, that would not be proper. Or that he holds the view that Tathagata does not exist after death, that would not be proper. Or that he holds the view that Tathagata both exist and does not exist after death, that would not be proper. Or that he holds the view that Tathagata neither exists nor does not exist after death, that would not be proper. For what reason? Because that bhikkhu is liberated by directly knowing this, the extent of this, the designation and the extent of pathway for the designation, the extent of language, and the extent of pathway for language, the extent of description and the extent of the pathway for description, the extent of wisdom and the pathway for the sphere of wisdom, the extent of the round and the extent to which the round turns. To say of a bhikkhu who is liberated by direct knowing this, that he holds the view one does not know and one does not see, that would not be proper. So, that means nobody can pinpoint that he has ignorance. It is because of ignorance people say either the Buddha, Tathagata, exists after that, does not exist there, neither exist nor exist, or both exist and non-exist and so forth. This is because of the ignorance. So at one time Buddha asked in another Majjhima Nikaya Sutta, I don't remember the sutta, while the Tathagata is living, you cannot say that Tathagata exists, or does not exist, or both exist and does not exist, or neither exist nor exist. You cannot say that, even while it exists. Why? Tathagata is the attainment. That is liberated state is the attainment. You cannot put your finger on the attainment to say this exists, this does not exist, this will both exist and not exist, because it is an attainment. Tathagata is an attainment. Although the Buddha used the word referring to himself, as Buddha mentioned in other places, convention has to be used. So this Tathagata, previous Tathagatas, all are Tathagatas, And we use this name to express this attainment in a form that we can perceive, that we can touch. Otherwise, you cannot make a definite statement whether it exists or does not exist. So, we make this statement because of our ignorance. One who attained enlightenment, Arahanthood, he completely understood this, and therefore, with regard to him, one cannot say that so and so believe Tathagata exists or non-exists, and so forth and so on. That would not be proper. The whole statements denied by this one sentence. Okay. Now we talk about consciousness. This list of places where consciousness exists, we find in several sutras. This is one of them. Satta Vijnana Tityo. Dve Ayatanani Katamani Satta. Santananda Satta Nanatta Kaya Nanatta Sanyano Seyatida Manussa Ekacchecha Deva Ekacchecha Vinipatika Ayang Patamang Vijnatityo Vijnanatiti. There are another beings who are diverse in body and diverse in perception, such as human beings, some gods, and some beings in the lower realms. This is the first station of consciousness. Now, I think it is better to refer to the commentary or explanation for details, which you find here in the book. Bhikkhu has very meticulously collected and translated commentary material. Human beings are diverse in various ways. We all know that there are no two human beings the same. Now, for the criminal investigation, they collect fingerprints. They collect so many fingerprints. There are 7 billion people. If they collect all the fingerprints from all these 7 billion people, they will not find 2 fingerprints the same. Even the identical twins have differences. Their fingerprints are not the same. Their liking, disliking, taste and so on can be different. And therefore human beings, in spite of all these differences, one thing they all have in common is consciousness. And there are some other divine beings, they are called Bhummattha Devata, earthbound deities. They also are different from one to another. such human beings, some gods and some beings in the lower realms. Lower realms are Petas and sometimes Asuras. They are also different. But the common denominator is consciousness. So that is the first station. And there are beings who are diverse in body but identical in perception, such as gods of Brahma order who are generated through the first jhana. First jhanic deity, the Brahmas are in the Rupa jhana. When we attain the jhana, the list is given on page 109. You can see the great Brahmas, gods of Brahma's ministry, gods of Brahma, retinue. Maha Brahma, Brahma Parasajya, Brahma Purohita. These are the three states of existence after attaining the first jhana. And the second jhana, third jhana, and the fourth jhana, and base of percipient beings. That is Vijnana Thiti. All these are Brahma realms. Their bodies are the same, but consciousness is different. Brahma order was generated. So that is the second, first jhanic attainment. When you attain the first jhana and die in the first jhana, or soon after coming out of first jhana you die, then you will be reborn in one of these. Why three? Because if somebody, as soon as the person attains jhana, without developing it very well, if he were to born, he would be born in the lowest strata of Brahma realm. Brahma's, ministers, retinue. If we develop the jhana to the second level, that means the medium level, then you will be born as Brahma's ministers. If you develop the jhana to the higher level, highest level, first jhana, that means you're repeating again and again and practicing again and again, and then you will be born in the Brahma realm as Maha Brahma, great Brahma. And all the others also like that, depending on the level of your practicing jhana. So they are physically, they have very fine material body, with the identical, but the perception may be varied. The diverse in body, but identical in perception. Diverse in body. Brahma, Nanatakaya, Ekatta Sanyi. Then, that is the second. Third is identical in body but diverse in perception. Such as the god or stream, I mixed up with the third with the second. Now the third is there are beings who are identical in body but diverse in perception, such as gods of streaming radiance. This is the third station. Streaming radiance Abhasara. They also are 3 levels, depending on how they develop their jhanas. The fourth level is there are beings who are identical in body and identical in perception, such as the gods of effulgent beauty. That is the attainment of the third jhana. And third jhana. And the fourth jhana, there are beings who are identical in body and identical in perception, such as the gods of effulgent beauty. This is the fourth station of consciousness. Now, that is, then goes to immaterial attainment called arupa jhana. Even there is consciousness. There are beings who, through the complete surmounting of perceptions and of material form, the passing away from perception of impingement and non-attention perception of diversity. Impingement is, we learn impingement contact and designation contact. Impingement contact is in the senses. Designation contact is in the mind. Impingement contact is a direct encounter with the object. That is how they get impinged. It doesn't mean it's very hard like hitting a bullet or arrow or something, but the impact is very strong because it is directly encountering. Designation is the sort of filtered little information, contact that goes to the mind. Now, Patika Sampassa, what they don't have is Patika Sampassa. Designation contact is there. So, and they are in the formless realm. As I mentioned earlier, formless does not mean completely free from form, but the form is so insignificant there's nothing to talk about. And there also are 4 stages. Being who having completed surmounted the base of infinity of space, consciousness is infinite and so forth. There the word Vijñānaṁ Chāyatana. Vijñānaṁ Chāyatana. That is a very interesting concept, that the mind completely withdraws from anything material or anything senses can perceive, but consciousness focus on consciousness itself and becomes aware of the fact that consciousness has no limit. So long as we have limited consciousness, we cannot understand how unlimited the consciousness is, how infinite the consciousness is. So, we explain the theory, but we don't know because we have not attained it. Anyway, that is the 6th attainment. The 7th is there are beings having completely surmounted the base of the infinity of consciousness. There is nothing. That is what is called akinchanyayatana in immaterial attainment. Akincha means no kinchi, nothing. All completely disappeared. That is the 7th stage of consciousness, state of consciousness. Based on non-perception being, non-percipient being, and second, the base of neither perception nor non-perception. These are the two bases. Now, ayatana, the word ayatana is used akasananchayatana, viññānañchayatana, akinchanyayatana, nevasanya nasanyayatana. So, non-percipient being and base of neither perception nor non-perception, these are two bases. That is the only last two of the four immaterial attainment is considered to be two bases. But the last two immaterial attainment, akinchanyayatana and nevasanya nasanya. These two are considered to be bases. Therein Ananda, if understands the first station for consciousness, that of being who are diverse in body and diverse in perception, and if one understands its origin, its passing away, its satisfaction, its unsatisfactoriness, and escape from it, is it proper for one to seek enjoyment in it? Certainly not, Venerable Sir. Now, that is human and animal realms where you find asada, adinava, okara, sankilesa. Ananda tancha tassacha samudayancha pajanati, attangamancha pajanati, assadancha pajanati, adinamancha pajanati, nissaranancha pajanati, kallannu tena tadabinyat tadabinanditum. Okay. No hetam Bhante. See, can one abhinanda means enjoy in existence with diverse form and diverse mentality. Materiality is diverse, mentality is diverse. There we find asada means enjoyment. Adina means danger. And then nissarana, abandoning. Where there is asada adinava nissarana, can one enjoy that? Venerable Ananda said, no. Why? Why is it not? Why he said that it is not enjoyable? Or one to seek enjoyment. One should not seek enjoyment because it is not enjoyable. Why is that? Because it is impermanent, subject to change, subject to suffering. Pain, sorrow, lamentation, grief and despair are always entailed. This enjoyment entails birth, decay, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair. Therefore there is no any pleasure in it. So, if one understands remaining stations of consciousness, you see, bhavagupadaya avijihetato, from the bhavagra, that is the last station of consciousness, to aviji means the lowest state of consciousness, lowest plane of existence, where consciousness arises. There is mentality and materiality. Where there is mentality and materiality, together with consciousness, pain, sorrow, lamentation, grief and despair are bound to happen. That means, that is what you call entire vata, complete existence in samsara. This is called samsara. In this samsara, we never find any enjoyment, pleasure. Of course there is cheap pleasure, but not the highest state of pleasure. So, Ananda, when a bhikkhu, having understood as they really are, the origin, passing away, satisfaction, unsatisfactoriness, and escape in regard to these 7 stations for consciousness and 2 bases, is liberated through non-clinging, then he is called a bhikkhu, liberated by wisdom. Okay? I think that is enough. So